Hello, everyone. I'm Richard Herskowitz, the Artistic Director of AIFF, and this is our annual preview night tour through the program. I usually do this live for about 400 people, and this is the second year we're doing both preview night and the festival virtually. But this year, we're not just virtual, we're hybrid, both virtual and live. The festival is going to be virtual April 15th to 29th and live and outdoors June 24th to 28th. This is our 20th anniversary, and we see the festival this year pointing our way towards our virtual future, being a hybrid virtual and live festival. So let's get started and start at the beginning with our opening day film. Our special guest that day is going to be this guy, David Oyelowo, the actor you'll recognize from his role as Martin Luther King in Selma and many other films. And he's going to present this film, The Waterman, which was filmed in Oregon. It is a young teens adventure film inspired by The Goonies, which was also filmed in Oregon. It uses wildfires as its backdrop, and in that way connects to a major theme in this year's festival I'll talk about, Rising from the Ashes. Now, Oyelowo also directed this film. It's his debut feature. And for that and for his extraordinary acting career, we're giving him our Rogue Award this year. Oyelowo will discuss the film at the end of the screening, like so many of our films that have Q&As at the end of them. And he'll be back to do a Q&A on Saturday, the first Saturday of the festival with Warren Etheridge. Now, there are other special awardees in the program this year. The first one is the great independent producer, Christine Vachon. She is the producer of over 100 films, many of which have advanced the representation of LGBTQ people on screen, including the Academy Award nominees and winners, Carol and Far From Heaven and Boys Don't Cry. She is going to present Poison. Poison was her first independent feature, and it was also the first independent feature of Todd Haynes, with whom she's partnered on every film he's directed in the past 30 years. Joining her to discuss the film will be Todd Haynes himself and B. Ruby Rich. B. Ruby Rich, who was our Pride Award winner 2 years ago, is the coiner of the term New Queer Cinema, which described the movement of independent filmmakers that really got launched by Poison and a few other films in the early 80s. That's going to be an incredible discussion and part of our Talkback series. Let's go on to our next award winner is Bruno Santamaria. Bruno is a Mexican filmmaker who's getting our James Blue Award, and that's presented every year to an emerging feature film director whose work reflects the social justice principles of Oregon filmmaker James Blue. The film he's going to show is called Things We Dare Not Do. And it's a beautiful film. It's gorgeously shot by Santamaria, who's an amazing cinematographer. It's about a teenage boy in a small Mexican village who struggles with its macho culture and dares to come out to his parents. Let's go on to our first major theme this year, which I mentioned earlier, Rising from the Ashes. It's a bit ironic that it's our major theme because 2 years ago, our primary theme was apocalypse. Southern Oregon went through an apocalyptic experience last summer with the Almeida fire. And we have several films this year about those fires and our area's response and revival since then. There are other films in the program about wildfires, as well as the aftermath of both ecological and personal disasters. The first one I'll call attention to is a film called Anchor Point. It's a film about women in firefighting. Let's take a look.
I'm walking into a man's world. There's gonna be some things that I can't be oversensitive about, but at the same time, I want to at least know you respect me. There is harassment, assault, intimidation, hostile work environment. Those are very real things. The minute you stand up there and say sexual harassment, the men that aren't inflicting it or don't see it happening just tune out. They're like, well, that's not happening. That doesn't apply to me. Firing or mass training. If you don't really feel it in your heart and soul to work in a very, very challenging environment, this is going to be a really, really hard career for you, a hard job. But I do hope that you find friendships here, that you find a community here. Because for me, the more that I can form a network outside of my work is really, truly what gives me strength. There's so many things I love about doing this work. I love the way fire smells. I love going home and being able to smell the smoke in my braids still. I love that it's never the same. I don't walk into the same environment every day. No two fires are alike.
Hey, how are things looking? How do you feel?
I think things are looking really, really good and feeling very, very good. When I first started in fire, I didn't feel like it was my place to rock the boat. Now I'm past the point of like giving any shits. My name is Kelly Martin and I am the Chief of Fire and Aviation Management at Yosemite National Park. I've been in my current position for over 10 years. I am here before you today to tell you my story, but more importantly to provide testimony regarding the dark clouds of misconduct that remains elusive from public view. It's almost as it's accepted that men can be given the benefit of the doubt and women are doubted. You still feel safe here? Okay. Just making sure, man. I'm responsible for you. I've never seen anybody suppress a fire with their penis. It shouldn't hinder me professionally that I don't have one.
Okay, I just want to point out another film in the Rising from the Ashes series called Stalking Chernobyl, Exploration After Apocalypse. It's a fascinating film about the aftermath of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster and how it's become a destination for a kind of extreme tourism, people going to brave the radiation. A film about people emerging from personal disasters includes this one, Impact. And Impact is about this guy, Troy Wachowski, a Medford resident who emerged from his own troubled past as a gang member and set up the Spartan boxing gym in Medford. And now he helps other at-risk kids turn their lives around. There's also this film called The Road Up about an inspiring African-American mentor in Chicago, Mr. Jesse, who runs a job training program in Chicago and helps people find hope in the face of addiction, homelessness, and trauma. This film knocked out my programming team and I highly recommend it. Next theme we have is Screening Cuba. And this is in conjunction with an exhibition, as we do every year, jointly with the Schneider Museum of Art. Their exhibition this year is called Collecting Cuba, and it was actually curated by my wife, Jill Hartz, who is the former director of the Schnitzer Museum in Eugene, where she collected a great deal of extraordinary Cuban contemporary art that's going to be on exhibit there, including some works of media art that we purchased together while I was curating media art there at the Schnitzer. So anyway, in conjunction with that exhibition, which will be up April through June, our screening series is going to be called Screening Cuba, and it's going to launch with this classic, I Am Cuba, which is from 1964, and it's one of the most thrillingly cinematic documentaries I have ever seen. It was made by the Russian filmmaker Mikhail Kalatozov, and it's going to be introduced by Alex Cox, who is the director of Repo Man and Sid and Nancy and other classics himself. He's a longtime friend of our festival. He's a passionate cinephile, extremely knowledgeable, and really fun to hear. This event, by the way, among some other events, is for members only. So you're going to want to find out about membership, especially at the end of this presentation. So let me point out another film in the Screening Cuba series. This is a narrative feature called Sin La Habana. And it is a narrative feature about a Cuban dancer and his Cuban girlfriend and the Iranian woman he marries to escape Cuba to get to Canada. Here's the trailer.
Eso es lo que tú tienes que hacer. Ponerte las pilas. Enreda una de las yumas de esa tu escuela. Total, ya están puestas para ti.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. To the side. Follow me.
Si tú no lo haces, lo voy a hacer yo.
Escúchame, tú no vas a hacer ni pinga, ¿ok?
Bueno. Entonces ya tú sabes lo que tú tienes que hacer.
Esta bolita de cristal te va a acompañar a ti en tu viaje. Para que te dé paz, salud, tranquilidad, estabilidad, y puedas lograr y puedas obtener lo que tú quieras en la vida.
Cuando llegues a Montreal me la devuelves. Leonardo, prométeme que me vas a sacar de aquí.
Okay, it's pointing out another film called Los Hermanos, The Brothers. It is a documentary about two brothers. One lives in Cuba and the other in the US. One is a classical musician, the other a jazz musician. And it's about their reuniting and playing together for the first time. The music and the filmmaking are extraordinary in this film. Let's go on to the next theme. And this is one of our perennial themes. Every year, in recent years, we've been addressing activism as a theme because we're a festival of independent films, and activism is a major interest of independent filmmakers. So this year, we are seeing in the films that were submitted to us a particular interest in youth activism, and that's reflected in 4 of the films we're including in this track, beginning with this one, American Gadfly. This is going to be a world premiere. It's about 2 college students who elevate the presidential candidacy of 88-year-old Senator Mike Gravel, the guy who released the exposed the Pentagon Papers back in the 60s. And let's look at the trailer.
We've been talking about 2020 almost nonstop since 2016 happened.
A group of students contacted me and asked if I would run for president again. I said, do you realize how old I am?
Gravel is thinking about running at 88 years old. 88.
We saw Senator Gravel as an icon that a lot of people on the left could rally around.
Some of these people frighten me. They frighten me. Love implements courage. And courage is the virtue that enables all your other virtues.
And what he did surrounding the Pentagon Papers, it was a national act of service pretty much unparalleled.
Young people have more power than they can possibly imagine.
Young teenagers are managing the campaign of the oldest person in American history to run for the presidency.
I've never heard of any high schoolers doing something like this before.
In every sense, he was
running as a kind of gadfly, saying what a lot of people think and irritating the front runners.
Why would any presidential candidate produce a video that is this strange?
The goal here is to get us into the Democratic debates.
The drill's got nothing on me. Congress crew, Bush, Doug, Leah Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, and all the other haters.
That's absolutely perfect.
If you got 65,000 donations, you had a chance of getting on the debate stage.
The DNC are so worried that we were planning on doing some stunt at the debates. What do they think we're going to do? Throw a pie? Like, the pie that I brought is unrelated. The whole world is just smaller than Trump.
You have over 25 million hits. 25 million hits is viral.
You guys are changing the game.
I love them, admire them. They're the future.
Hey, Mike, how are you? You young people are going to think.
Powers that we're up against have wealth untold. Trying to break that monopoly is going to be a handsome undertaking.
I don't think one microbill campaign changes the country, but I think 1,000 do.
Another film about youth activism is called Youth v. Gov. And this one is about the lawsuit that was filed on behalf of youths against our government for suppressing known data about climate change. That lawsuit was based in Eugene, Oregon, where most of this film takes place. And then there's Homeroom, a film about the Oakland High School class of 2020 and their response to COVID and to George Floyd's killing, and their fight to reduce the police presence in their high school. And finally, in this youth activism track, we have Beans. Beans is about a young Mohawk First Nations girl in Canada during the Oka crisis when her people confronted the Quebec and Canadian governments. And it's based on the director Tracy Deer's own experiences as a 12-year-old. Let's look at it.
My name is Tika Handekwa, or you can call me Beans. Everybody does.
This is our road! Our road!
If you can't feel pain, no one can hurt you.
Okay, our final major track is another perennial theme for AIFF, films about artists. And I guess we're balancing the youth-oriented activism track with a couple of films about aging artists. The first one being this film called Me to Play, about two actors with Parkinson's disease. It's these two guys who decide to mount a production of Samuel Beckett's Endgame in spite of their disabilities. It turns out that Beckett wrote Endgame in response to his experience of his mother-in-law's Parkinson's disease. And you will learn a lot about Beckett, about acting and Parkinson's. I absolutely love this film. I also want to mention that OSF will be joining us in presenting this film, and their associate artistic director will be conducting the discussion with the director at the end. Also, quickly point out another film about aging artists that I really love, and it's called So Late, So Soon, and they are two visual artists, and the film explores their long-term relationship and how they are dealing with their deteriorating conditions. So another theme within the arts section is exploring iconoclastic women artists, beginning with this one, Lydia Lunch, The War Is Never Over, about the great punk poet, musician, and sexual rebel. And then there's Who Is Luna Meno, about the wild fashion designer and visual artist and musician. I'd never heard of her before this film, but just amazed by her work, and especially by this film, which is a hybrid documentary, which mixes fiction and documentary in dizzying ways. And finally, our closing day film of the virtual part of our festival, Lily Topples the World. And she's the youngest of our iconoclastic women artists, and she calls herself a domino artist. She's a YouTube sensation, and I'm going to give you a taste of what she does.
Yeah, it works. What's up, Domino community?
Okay, just say that Lily Topples the World just won the jury prize for Best Documentary at South by Southwest Film Festival. So I'm just going to point out just a few films. Of course, not everything in our festival falls into a track, and these are a few other virtual festival highlights I want to point out to you. The first one is In the Same Breath, and it's another film about our COVID year. This one is by Nanfu Wang, and in the past 5 years, we've shown every one of her feature documentaries, the most recent one being One Child Nation. Wang was born in China. She lives in the US. And she compares our two countries' responses to COVID. And with her binational perspective, she's illuminating about both. And then there is A Cottage for Bernie Madoff. It's another film that falls between narrative and documentary. And the filmmaker and the leading performer in the film both live in Portland, where this was first a stage production and now has been adapted to film. Let's take a look.
The mystics say we are all connected. Maybe we'll never meet. Maybe we have completely different lives. But we're all part of a web of relationships. Each of us a spark in the darkness. In 2008, I got lucky with an artist residency and an empty floor of a Wall Street office building. I was there to write songs, but I couldn't ignore the Great Recession unfolding all around me. Then Bernie Madoff turned himself in.
In with Wall Street and the news today isn't getting any better.
Everyone thought they knew the story. Madoff promised tons of cash and greedy investors bought in. Hello. But I had a feeling that was too easy. I couldn't stop investigating and singing about the questions that haunted me.
Holy shit, I'm 1 degree from Bernie Madoff.
I was a Jewish person wrestling with someone from my own tribe.
You don't say cottage for someone who's alive, except in one extremely rare case.
Okay, and the last feature film in the virtual section I want to call your attention to is this joyful production called Summertime. It's a slam poetry musical, and let's take a quick look.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got the legendary Anubis and Ra.
There's no one here, Ra. It's just us.
Have you forgotten where we are? What kind of crazy dope magic happens in this city every day?
Look, it's me.
There's literally a street that has stars in it with people's names.
Maybe we're not even depressed. Maybe we just hungry.
Okay, that was a taste of the feature films in our program. I'm going to talk now about our shorts program, and I can't do them justice like I can when we do a 90-minute preview night and the other programmers join me. But one of the great strengths of our festival, as many people know, is the quality of our short films. Most of these shorts will be on view for the full duration of our festival from April 15th to 29th, and many of them are free. I'm just going to give an overview right now. First of all, there is our section of curated programs. These are the short films that we were we drew from the submissions to our festival and were curated by our shorts programmers, John Stadelman and Ora Johnson, and collected in thematic programs. They include short stories 1 on success, short stories 2, foreign exchange, short docs 1, now what, short docs 2, land, and short stories and docs, outsiders. And I'll just point out that Short Docs 2 Land has included in it a number of films about Native American issues, as well as Meltdown in Dixie, a film that just won the top prize at Big Sky Film Festival. So after the curated programs, we have these shorts packages that we present that were curated by others. The first one is Cinespace. People who are longtime AIFF goers know that we've been bringing this program back now for 6 years. These are extraordinary short films that remix NASA space footage, and it's presented at our festival every year by representatives of NASA and the Houston Cinema Arts Festival. Going on from there, for the first time, we're going to be showing the Identity and Belonging series. It's student films produced by the Guanajuato International Film Festival. And of course, Guanajuato is Ashland's sister city, and we have struck up a sister film festival relationship with Guanajuato. Next comes the Batista Syndrome. And this is actually a video mini-series, a retro-futuristic program. It's a mix of musical and vaudeville and verite and drama, dream and soliloquy by the terrific experimental artist Steve Fagan. It explores Havana in the 1950s in all these different cinematic modes, and you'll be able to see it in 8 parts for free in our shorts section. On to Kid Flicks. Now, Kid Flicks is the programming we do each year for families, and these are the best films chosen by what I think of as the best children's film festival, the New York Children's International Film Festival. And Kid Flicks 1 is designed for kids who are 5 and up. Kid Flicks 2 is for kids who are 8 and up, and which we're up for the first time last year, Viva Kid Flicks, which is all Spanish language films with English subtitles for kids who are 8 and older. These films will show just 1 day each on weekends during our virtual festival. And finally, in the short section is our locals and launch section, which is more programs, which are more expansive this year than they've ever been. We have 5 locals and launch programs. Launch, of course, is our student film competition we do every year, and students in our region who make the best films are given cash awards from supplied by Rotary of Lithia Springs. Now this year for our 20th anniversary, we are featuring Lainey DeKino, who has had more films in our festival than anybody else, over a dozen films since 2008. We'll show a retrospective of her films, including Real Smith, about Denny DeBay, the blacksmith who runs Ashland Forge, and who created the award that we give to all of our filmmakers, and you see him here holding it. Then there is, let me go back a second to Audie Carlisle. Audie Carlisle is a filmmaker who grew up in Mount Shasta and launched a successful career as a women's wear designer and a filmmaker in New York, and recently returned to Mount Shasta. And she submitted 2 films to our team this year and knocked us out. And so we're giving her a spotlight and showing both of her films. And on to Nisha Burton. Nisha Burton grew up in Ashland, lives now in Portland. She made one of the winning films in our very first launch competition. And now she's made a film about the aftermath of the Almeida fire called A Hurricane with Fire, which gives special attention to the fire's impact on our local Latinx community. This film will show with another new film about the aftermath of the Almeida fire. That's the latest film by Lainey DeKino called Facing Fire. And the program in which they appear together, we're calling, as you I expect rising from the ashes. So let me move on now to our virtual special events. And, you know, last year, just want to say we made a tremendous effort to migrate the community spirit and interactivity that people cherish about this festival. And we intend to keep that going this year with our opening night bash, which will have live music and dancing, again by Jeff Pivar and Ingrid Jorgensen, and they are bringing along with them the musician Cornflower to perform and for you to dance to during the party. It's going to be hosted by Julie Gillis and Camilla Long, and they're going to have to deal with the presence of OSF actor Jonathan Luke Stevens, who is going to resurrect the spirit of Charlie Chaplin throughout the evening. That's opening night, April 15th. And then we have throughout the festival our member maker mixers. That's new this year. We are going to invite our members to come on April 21st and 28th at 4 p.m. into this virtual ballroom, and they can take a seat next to the filmmakers who will be there, and you can talk to them about their films, you can talk to each other, and it's just an opportunity to have the kind of engagement and interaction that people cherish about our festival. And finally, our AIFF Awards Night last year was hosted by Bruce Campbell. This year, we're going to have the special guest, David Oyelowo, Christine Vachon. Other surprise guests will be there. That's on Sunday. That's on April 29th, the final day of the festival. So all of those events the special events are available to members. And in addition to the discounts you receive, the free screenings you get with your membership, and the fact that we become more of a year-round organization that will give you benefits all year. And finally, the fact that becoming a member supports our organization. If you haven't joined, I hope you will. And you can go to ashlandfilm.org and find out more about that. So, you know, one of the main benefits this year of being a member will be the fact that you'll be able to order tickets early for the very limited seating that's going to be available to our second part of our double feature festival this year, the Live and Outdoors Festival that will take place June 24th to the 28th. The outdoor screenings will take place at Science Works and in Ashland and the Walkabout Brewery in Medford. And we're gonna utilize the silent disco headsets that bring the movies into your ears. And of course, the audience will look like they landed here from another planet. But it's quite an experience. So our opening day event of our Live and Outdoors Festival, I can now announce, is going to be Fanny, the Right to Rock. And some of you may know that this was intended to be our special premiere last year at the festival. Filmmaker Bobby Hart held the film back until she could release it theatrically this year. She is a very successful filmmaker based in Montreal, but with a great fondness for Ashland. Of course, she graduated from Southern Oregon University. She's waited to bring the film here, and she'll be coming with members of the band Fanny, who will perform at the screening. And by the way, there will be live music at every screening in our outdoor festival. Just take a look at some of the trailer.
I had no idea who they were, but this 4 minutes worth of music, I was like hooked.
The queens of rock and roll, Fanny.
Take care of yourself. This is your story.
Fanny is iconic, truly before their time. Men coveted rock and roll, but that was theirs.
This is a girl with an instrument on. So, okay, this is a game changer.
Fanny was the first all-woman rock band that could really play and really get some credibility within the musician community. So we broke through that barrier, and it wasn't through talking. We just fucking did it.
I tried to call you, but they've taken out your phone. Are you
was so much pressure all the time. I mean, you have to remember how young we were and how scared we were, really. We're brown and nobody knows where the Philippines is. And many times when I felt homeless and challenged, it was hard. Being gay was still a disease. You could not be a lesbian in Fanny.
They're like my sisters. I've known them since I was 16.
Okay, you can see the rest of that trailer on our website and many of the other trailers for the films. Our centerpiece film this year in the live festival will be Weed and Wine. This is about two farming families. One family grows cannabis in Humboldt County, and the other runs a biodynamic vineyard in the southern Rhone of France. If you're a wine lover or a weed lover, or both, you've got to see this fascinating film by Rebecca Richmond Cohn. And our closing day film in our live festival on June 29th, and of our entire festival this year, will be a 20th anniversary celebration of Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and also a 20th anniversary celebration of AIFF. We're going to invite people to come in costume, and there will be live music, and we are going to be joined by the actor, director, and star of the film, John Cameron Mitchell. So the producer of that film, Christine Vachon, will also be here, our Pride Award winner. There is so much more I couldn't get to. I hope you will go to ashlandfilm.org and check out the full program. I want to thank our amazing staff led by Executive Director Erica Thompson, as well as our sponsors and our members for really helping us to survive and flourish through the pandemic. Go to ashlandfilm.org, read about all the films I talked about and the ones I didn't, and have a great festival. Thank you.